Welcome back to my channel. I thought it would be very useful if you had 5 simple tips on how to take good pictures with your phone. I see a lot of you on Instagram and I see you struggling with taking the pictures, so I thought it might be useful for you. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and make sure that you're following me on Instagram. So the first useful tool that you need to learn about is your grid section. In your settings in your phone, if you have an iPhone, if you have a Samsung, even an Android sometimes, and if you don't have it, you can download an app that gives you the grids on your telephone. What the grids are is basically these are lines that are automatically set in order to section out pictures. So normally they're like 9 little square boxes, and I'll just show you what I mean. I hope you can see those lines that are running through my phone. So I've turned on my grid section on my phone, and that's the picture that I'm looking at, and those lines run through in 9 little square spaces. Those 9 little square spaces are what makes up what is called your composition. Now you've got to understand composition in order to get a picture right, so make sure that you're always either working on the horizontal end or the vertical end. Is really up to you, but if you flip your phone in whichever way, just make sure that your picture is in any of those 3 squares. And I can have it on the extreme right, where you can see these 3 square spaces, and my subject is in those 3 square spaces, my subject being the chairs here. Or I can move it and I can have my subject in right in the middle of those 3 square spaces. So I've got 1, 2, 3, or I can do it in the extreme right. And if I do it in the extreme right, I don't really get the chairs. As you can see, I really get the wall. So it really depends on what you're doing and what kind of picture that you're taking. So composition is quite important. If you've got the grids, they'll kind of guide you on what sort of composition that you're going to get. So for example, if I was to take just a picture of that end of the room, you can see my composition. It's not going to include the chairs so much, but you can see that it does include in those 3 square spaces the table as well as the desk. So yeah, by having the grids on your phone, or if you don't have the grids, like I said, you can download this app. You can always make sure that it kind of guides you on what your picture is going to look like. So if that's my frame, which is all the 9 pictures, it basically tells me what my picture is going to look like. So I hope that's a helpful tip. The next tip is make sure that you're focusing on one subject. So in a picture or in a frame, you could have 10 to 20 things that are in your picture frame, but you just want to focus on that one thing. This specifically applies for a room, for example. If you're taking a picture of a product, if you're taking a picture of food, this is quite applicable. So I'm just going to show you how this is done. So in my picture frame, you can see there's a lot of items and there's a lot of things that's happening around it. You got the pillows, you got the chairs, you got the mat, the desk, the lamp, and so on and so forth. So what you need to be able to do is pick a subject and focus on that one subject. So for example, if I wanted to pick a subject and I just wanted to be able to take a picture of that desk over there, my focal point will really be around this area. So applying that rule of thirds that we talked about, look at the grids and make sure that your rule of thirds are applicable, or the composition that you're going to get is actually suitable for what you're trying to take a picture of. So at the moment, what I've got is I've got the background happening here, and I don't want that in my picture frame. I have the door happening, and I don't want that in my picture frame. But I could possibly do that. Just that slight flip will make me focus on just that subject. So if I were to take a picture of just there's a lot happening. You've got pictures, you've got the table, you've got the mat, you've got so much happening here. But I just want to be able to pick a subject and focus on that one subject. So in this case, I'm just going to focus my angle on the chair, and that is going to be my focal point. So I'm going to look at the grids and I'm going to look at what composition that I want to put for it. So we're speaking about that composition. Remember to apply the rule of thirds. So I can either put it in the center of my frame, or I can put it to the right of my frame, or I can put it to the extreme left of my frame. But you can see if I just slightly flip my phone here, you can see that I'm changing the composition and I'm changing the picture as I move along. So if I take that, that's the kind of picture frame that I'm going to get. If I move it slightly, that's the kind of picture frame that I get. And if I move it even further, that's what I get. So when we say focus on one subject, there's a lot happening here. So let's pick a subject and let's focus. I'm going to pick the chair as my subject, and I'm going to try and light it up just a little by tapping. But I'm going to try and keep the center of attention on that one subject. There you go. And that is my picture. How helpful those grids are in terms of composition and applying the rule of thirds, and making sure that your subject is the center of attention of your picture. So if you have a lot of things that are happening, just pick one focal point and make sure that your camera lens is focusing on that one focal point. The next bit that I want to talk about is making use of negative spaces. I'll explain. So when we talk about negative spaces, you always find that around you or in your background you always have a wall, or you always have water, or you've got some sort of blank canvas that you can always use to place your subject against. So a lot of times I find that people don't actually look at their backgrounds. You could have a marvelous picture and then you find that something in your background is not right. I've done it 1,000 times and I know you all have. So I just want to show you the difference when you actually just bring in the background into your picture and you incorporate it in the frame. So I'm going to give you an example. My phone as an example, and my phone is the subject here. So I can either put it against this red wall, and I can flip the picture there, and that's quite a nice picture. Using again composition, I can center it, I can put it on the right, I can put it on the left, but basically the background is going to make my subject pop. I can also move it and I can put it on a flat surface here, and you can see the difference in the composition. You can see the difference also between the red background and the telephone, which kind of makes it pop. Now, just to show you and to prove a point, I'm going to put it against a white wall. Do you see the difference of what it does? It basically makes the subject either stand out or blend in with the background. So if I was to take a picture of that phone against the white background, that would actually look better than putting it against that red background here. The reason being is because it's the same as what you would take a picture of an outfit. You always want to blend in with your background rather than pop out of your background. That kind of makes whatever outfit that you're wearing or anything that you're trying to take a picture of stand out a lot more than just taking a picture of it against a background that doesn't really fit in. So let me give an example again. I'm going to put a pillow here and I'll put it against the pillow. But do you see that? By just having that contrast between the blue and the white, that kind of makes the phone pop out a little bit more. That brings me to my next point, which is perspectives. Always make sure that you're taking from different angles. Always make sure that if you're taking a picture, you're taking it from right next to it. Do you see the difference? Right above it, on the side, side by side. So it doesn't matter. With the perspective, it really doesn't matter how you're taking the picture, just as long as you're taking the picture as if somebody else was viewing it. So when you have those really awkward pictures where you're trying to squint and figure out, okay, how was that picture actually taken? I know you know all those pictures where you're looking at it and you're going, I don't really quite get it. That's when you know it's the wrong perspective. So make sure that you're looking at the composition in the same manner your viewers will be looking at it, and then you'll always get it right. So my last tip is make sure that you're actually walking closer to your subject rather than zooming in, especially with the phone. If you have a great camera and you have a great zoom lens, then that's fine. But if you don't, then my suggestion is that you walk a little bit closer to your subject and then you take the picture, because otherwise it's quite obvious that you try to zoom in, and what happens is basically the pixels increase and the picture doesn't look very clear. So I'll give you an example. I can't use my zoom lens on the camera, but I can, like you can see, the higher that I go, I'm trying to take a picture of the phone on top of that pillow. It's not going to work. So the best thing that I can do is the closer that I go, the better the composition and the better the picture looks. So if you're taking especially products, or if you're taking a picture of food, then I would suggest that you do this, because this is quite important. For a bonus tip, I hope this was all useful, and if it was, make sure that you subscribe, click the like button, and make sure that you're following me on Instagram. And my last bonus tip for you guys is that you can download a lot of filters, and you can download a lot of apps that can help you improve your photography on your phone. So one of them that I really like is Snapseed, and Snapseed is quite a little bit complicated for the average user, but it's not that hard once you get a hang of it. Or you can do Photoshop Express. So all these are the applications that you can download on your phone, and you can use them to help create a better image once you've taken that picture. I know it's a lot more work, but that's what Instagram is, and that's what imagery is. It is work, and it is work and an art form, and that's why people are paid to do it, and that's why they're called professional photographers. So if you can't afford a professional photographer, here's a couple of tips to help you just get along with your own photography on your phone. I hope this was useful, and keep following, keep flying, and keep traveling.